Welcome back to the program. Well, as we have been discussing, we are seeing tensions rise as pro-Palestine protesters carry out encampments across Australian universities. Over in the UK, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has backed a police crackdown on any outbreak of disorder on campuses after Jewish students said encampments there were creating a hostile and toxic atmosphere. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Emily Carver. Emily, good to see you as always. Thanks for joining us. What's the situation with those protests over in the UK?
Well, what we're seeing, thankfully, is still on a smaller scale than what's going on in the States, that's for sure. But we are seeing still anti-Israel banners, Palestinian flags everywhere, inflammatory slogans raised at these tented protests across universities across the country. We're seeing students barricade themselves in university buildings. We're seeing Jewish students fearful of harassment, intimidation in their own place of learning, anti-Semitism. London, Bristol, Leeds, Manchester, Warwick, Newcastle, Sheffield, all of our university campuses seem to be affected by this. And there is a very real worry. There is a very real worry that we could see these types of small-scale campus protests escalate to the sort of scenes we're seeing in the United States, where things have gotten very violent indeed and arrests have been made. You know what? I do not want to see our universities with a huge police presence because of these protests. A lot of these students are simply useful idiots for extremists. Let's be frank. They talk about peace. They talk about stopping deaths in Gaza. But I don't know about you. I haven't spotted one pro-Palestine protest calling for Hamas to go or even calling them out. They don't know what from the river to the sea means. I doubt some of them even know what intifada means. Yet they're happy to stand behind these banners saying exactly those things. I speak to Jewish students. I speak to anti-Semitism groups, and they are fearful.
Well, absolutely. And the thing is, Emily, they're not even calling for Hamas to release the hostages. They're just completely turning a blind eye to the events of October 7. It's just shocking. And here in Australia, we're seeing university bosses, they're not even standing up to the anti-Semitism we're seeing here. Are universities at all cracking down over there? Are they speaking out against it?
They say they are, but they talk in platitudes. They say there's no place for anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, intolerance on our campuses. But what exactly are they doing to make Jewish students feel safer? I don't see any concrete evidence that they're doing so. As you say, the Prime Minister here has backed a police crackdown if there's an outbreak of disorder on university campuses, but I don't believe it. Elsewhere in the news yesterday, there was a protest in Peckham in southeast London. The police just stood by and did absolutely nothing. And this was a protest that stopped the government from implementing their migration policy. It had to do with deportation and moving migrants from hotels to a Bibi Stockholm barge where they're also being held. Student activists were allowed to essentially just stop the government from implementing basic policies. It's out of control. Our police don't stand up to anything, it seems. We're very weak at the moment. And the Prime Minister can talk a big game about how he doesn't want extremism on campus, but very little seems to change.